Good morning everybody and a very warm welcome to Mildenhall, and I should actually say Vollmer, as it is kind of two layouts in one. So today is going to be part two of the hardstanding area that I did yesterday on the live stream. So for those of you who didn't watch that, that is actually up already. And basically it just shows you me actually laying the filler and how I do it. And today is just basically a continuation of that, but also I'm just going to give you a bit of an update on a few bits and pieces along the way on the actual layout itself. So you're now looking at my Lima crane which I purchased recently, and I just wanted to talk you through what's going to be happening here, but I also wanted to give you a bit of an update. As you can probably, some of the more beady-eyed of you will notice that the crane is now picking up a 1/76 scale container, and this is the Bachmann one that I showed you the other day, and it will actually pick up the 45-foot one as well. Now I did suspect it would, but nonetheless I'd like to thank all those who put in the comments that you can modify it and you can get it to pick it up. I suspected looking at it from the beginning that you could, and that's basically, like I did say in my previous video, you just have to prise open the grab, the actual plate, which is, if I just show you my finger, that if you just prise it open, because it's like a clamp and it just kind of like a C shape like that, and if you just kind of prise it open a bit and widen it, it will pick up that the container. So I'd like to thank everybody who'd obviously done this before me and actually just confirmed what I sort of already knew already. So that's much appreciated. One of the other things I was doing is I was just playing around with the track plan. Now a few people had commented that, let me just bear with me one moment. So here we go. So this is a 45-foot container, which it will also pick up. The problem is that with this one and even the 20-foot one, it's the weight. This has got quite a lot of weight in it, and the crane kind of struggles to kind of pick it up. That's why the little 187 ones work perfectly fine, because there isn't much weight to them. But obviously this has got a lot more weight, so it kind of struggles a bit more, but it does lift it up. One of the things that a few comments that was made from a few YouTubers was the fact that this actually couldn't fit in there. But I have seen, and I was watching the Warren Lane layout, which I'm such a big fan of. Now the Helgen crane, and I don't know if this is a lot to do, whether a lot of cranes do it in real life, is actually they twist this round and then they put it through, get it out, and then they twist it back out and then they drop it. I know the Helgen crane does that, and I'm assuming that that's what and that's what a lot of cranes do in reality. Because some people were saying, oh, it just doesn't fit through here. But I guess they get it out and then they twist it. I guess on this bit you can't really do that. But I guess I did sort of check it with the width, and I did try and play around with it by hand, and it could actually work on this crane. I mean, obviously not from here because it's too wide, but on the ends you could. So I was kind of working on that point of view that you could do that. Like I said, I have seen the Helgen crane able to do that. Like I said, I have seen it on Warren Lane, and whether or not in reality, I should imagine if it does it on the Warren Lane Helgen crane, then I should imagine that in reality a lot of cranes do that. So, because a lot of people say, oh, it doesn't fit through the legs, but it will fit through the legs going that way. So I think you could possibly bring it out and then spin it around and then drop it down onto your load. A few people are asking me why am I also doing hard standing on here. Also, it's just I did the hard standing on here because I wanted to marry it up with what I already have on the rest of it. Also, when I did it previously, I kind of made a bit of a boo-boo with it. I originally, you see this track on the black bit here. Originally, I just had an indentation, and it was just going to sit in there like that, and that was fine. But then I decided to get clever and try and put filler in the middle and try and make it look better. And then what happened is all the filler, just as it was drying, just expanded and then basically buckled all the track. So this time round, I'm just going to just lay it on the top. And the thing is that if I wanted to try and get it level before and take it back down to the way it was before, it'd be a lot of work for me because I'd have to literally rip out what was underneath out. Whereas this way, I just basically fillered over it, covered it over and resanded it, and it's now flat again, and it's a lot easier. So that's kind of, I'm still working on the track plan, which is why I haven't really sort of, at the moment I'm just getting it the same colour and as the other side, and then once I've worked out, I think this is how it's going to work, to be honest, as you actually see it. I didn't really want to take up the tracks on the other side, so what I've decided to do is use those tracks on the other side and then work around it. And also, if I just take you round this side of the layout, you'll actually see that the overhang of the crane doesn't encroach onto the main line. I was going to move it across slightly, but then it was going to get in the way of the main line, so whichever way I did it, so I had to kind of try and work it out. So I think I know what I'm doing now. So whilst we're still at this end, there's been a fantastic guy on YouTube, I think he's called HGV Me, he's a lorry driver, and he was doing cab rides around the various container terminals. He did one on Felixstowe, one in Southampton, where he kind of did a driver's eye view of it, of what truck drivers do. And I found that really, really brilliant. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. You learn a lot in terms of, the procedures, what the actual furniture is in terms of in the port, like the bollards, the cabins, the signs, all that kind of thing, and how it sort of works and what the procedure is, which I found really, really useful. So I've been basing that, whilst watching that, I've been learning from that to try and implement some of that on what I'm doing here. I realised I needed another building, and a little while ago, Alan over at Dragon Junction gave me a box of bits and pieces, and he gave me one of these scale model scenery porter cabin things, which I've kind of built. To be honest with you, this scale model scenery porter cabin looks absolutely naff in my view, to be honest. Maybe I could probably detail this up better to make it look better, I think, but I don't think I'm going to bother. But because I could come up with a new idea, a new plan, which I'll just talk you through. So here we are at this end of the layout, and as you can see, what I've done is I've basically started mapping out the actual container terminal now with the extension. And if I just sort of zoom you in a bit, and this is all kind of what I've been learning through some of these videos that I've been watching. So obviously we've got the kind of entrance, and that runs around the perimeter around the outside, and this is where you stop to hand in your paperwork to the office. Now that was what the old plan was going to be, but what I've decided to do is that office is going to be moved over to the far side where I just showed you where the porter cabin is, and that office is going to, that green office is going to control this area via CCTV and traffic lights. So I'm just going to remove that building for a moment, because what I wanted to show you is today I bought this, a security gate kit, and so I think that is going to work wonders. And what you get in it is the kit includes, so it says 2 barriers, and you've got the option of having them up or down. You've also got 2 floodlight CCTV, so that works because you put the CCTV on this end and it will be controlled by the building over at the other end. And you get 2 palisade fencing as well. So, and I've got some PD Marsh traffic lights which I used over at Beringer, which I've still got, so I'll add them. Now this porter cabin here, I don't know how good it is, but I do have a Batman porter cabin, which I had over from Behringer, and it's still actually in the Network Southeast colours. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the hut or the cabin that's in the kit with this one, because I suspect that this one's going to be a bit more realistic and better looking than the one that comes in the actual kit, because I suspect that the one that comes in the kit is going to be a bit too plasticky. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the Eddie Stobart lorry out of the way. So what I've done is basically I've been playing with the lorries to get the road markings the way I want them realistically. I've also washed the concrete, I've also sanded it down, I've also added patches to it, as you can see as well. There's probably going to be some more, but I just didn't want to go too overkill for now, so I've just kind of left it as it is. I will probably sand down some of those patches just to tone them down a bit. And as you can see, I've still got a bit of a pencil line here as to there's going to be 2 lanes, and one lane is going to go one way, one lane is going to go the other way, and depending on what the lorries, the Arctic's going to be doing, they'll have to pick the right lane that they want. And obviously the cones are a guide for them to come round. But to be honest, those cones are a little bit too far spaced in my view. But I ran out of cones, so I used all the cones that I had. So I bought some more. And this is the cones I bought. This is for model scenes. And you get 2 different types of cones. You get a set of cones that you've got on that side, and then I've got a set of cones that you get on the other side, which I'll just show you more in depth. So this is the first set of cones that you've got, and you can actually see that there's a bit of patchwork that needs doing, to be honest, but I'm quite happy to leave it like that. That's just kind of the way it is. And there's one that I actually just pretended that I've actually repaired. I've also got these kind of crash barriers like I showed you last time to put on the perimeter. If I show you the far side, I'll show you the other type of cones. So this is the second type of cones that you get in the pack. It's good value for money, I think, and so I'm quite happy to use these cones, and I think they will work. I just think that these cones here are a little bit too far spaced apart, so I'm going to put some more cones in between, and then the barriers will go here, and so will the security fencing and the traffic lights. I've kind of started mapping out this side as well, as to where the crane's going to go, or the containers are going to go. So basically, if I just sort of walk you through it, there's lane 1 and 2. So I'm going to put some more cones along here. Well, not necessarily cones, but bollards. And basically, this right-hand lane will filter out towards the container, towards the crane, I should say. Whereas this one here, this lane here, will go into one of these 2 slots, and the lorry can park into one of these 2 slots, and then the container can be lifted off. And then after, it can be offloaded and left to one side. If you're running empty, like I said, you can go straight to the container, straight to the crane down at that end, and maybe pick up your import, as they say, from the crane, and then you just go out the other way as normal. Like I said, I'm still learning it because I'm still watching a lot of these videos, and I find it really insightful and really good. So there's a lot more detailing work to be done, but I'm starting to get a good understanding. And one of the things I wanted to do to try and get this right is actually to play with the vehicles. And if you play with the vehicles, then you can get an understanding as to where the trailer is going to go. So I'm going to try and demonstrate that now. So I'm just going to sort of play with this Eddie Stobart. I'll just give you a demonstration really. And so what I did is I was just sort of realistically just driving it along and seeing where the back of this trailer was going to end up, to make sure that I can do an outline to make it realistic enough that I can get the actual lorry round without it hitting any of the cones. But in reality, I know as a bus driver in real life that sometimes you don't get the luxury of the space in certain places, and you end up hitting these cones. But you, like I said, in places like this, they usually give you enough. So I was driving it like that, And so using the pencil, I was marking out where everything was going to go. So that was lane 1. And that's how I've ended up doing that. And I did the same with the second lane as well. And then again, marked it out. I've done the same again with the marking out of the square where they offload the container, give the Arctic enough space, created a box for it. Also, the straddle vehicle, I think is what they call it. Make sure that the space was wide enough to accommodate the straddle vehicle. So that's cool. So give that enough space, and then I've got to work out a few other bits. There might be that area over there which I'd originally earmarked for the containers to park up, if this thing will focus. Let's just come out a bit. Hang on a sec. Oh, there you go. Right, that's better. So that area that I'd originally earmarked for containers, I may still do that, or they have this thing called a temporary holding area, which I might create one of those. And basically that's, if your container isn't ready, they'll ask you to park in a temporary holding area and basically just wait there, as the name suggests, until they're ready for you, and then you can come round and pick up your container from the crane, which is over there. The next stage, once you've picked up your container and you're good to go, is to go and go to the seal check area. And you go to the seal check basically just to on the back of the lorries to make sure that the paperwork seal matches what the seal number is on the actual container. I've dealt with this through my warehouse work in the past, so they've got a separate area which they do that. So I was half thinking that maybe this little extension here, maybe something like that may go over there, and then on the exit you hand out your paperwork. But now, because I'm not really a fan of this porter cabin, because I just think it's really quite naff, to be honest. There's no, I mean, like I said, I could do something with it, but I don't think I'm going to even bother. I just built it as a kind of seed because I needed another building, but now I've got the wheels kit. I'm thinking that this will go over here. And that building there, that porter cabin, will control the CCTV and the barriers over at the far side. So, and I used to do that as a weighbridge clerk, because I used to work as a weighbridge clerk many years ago. And I used to sit on the far side, use the CCTV footage to see the dust carts come in, get them weighed on the scales, wait for the scales to settle, and basically weigh them. Once I've taken the weight, I can then press a button to release the traffic lights from red to green and then allow them to proceed. And that was done at one end and I was sitting at the other end. And then when they left, they came to see me to pick up the paperwork. So I kind of have a rough idea of how it all works. So that brings us back down to this area and what we're going to do next. So I'm just going to evacuate the area and show you the sanding procedure, or what I'm going to do, sanding and painting. And then we'll take it on from there in the next video. So the first thing I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be sanding down this whole area. So that's what I'm going to be doing now with this palm sander. So I don't need to show it to you because you're not going to bore you to tears and listen to the sander going. So I'll quickly do that. I've got the windows open and I'll come back to you when it's done. So I've now sanded it all down. It's all done. And it's a lot smoother now. And ready to take some paint. It's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination, but I'm very happy with it because the fact that it's not perfect means that in some ways it is perfect, because roads aren't perfect, if that makes any sense. And so it's completely smooth, it's ready to take paint. You can see down at this end it's all completely blended in. So once all the paint goes on, it will be blended in with like the rest of the back of it. And the great thing is, like I said yesterday, by adding the black pigment to the white feather, you've created this grey undercoat. And if this is chip, at least it will chip grey. And the other thing is then when you start sanding it, you'll end up with all these, I don't know if I can show it, but some of the grey comes through underneath. I don't know if you can see it on the top bit, that there's a few kind of, I think you can see it there, there's a bit of grey that's come through, and that's what you'll get once you've painted it and then sand this up. And as you can see, there are some imperfections on this. It's not 100% smooth, but this is mainly going to be the track bed anyway. But obviously there's going to be a road so the lorries can come and beside the trains to pick up the containers. It's just I haven't finalised the track plan, so I'm just going to just level it all out and then I'll have to take it from there. The paint I'm going to use is just some paint that I've got knocking around, which is that tub over there. And so basically that's why I'm using it, and it's lighter than the grey, but it's good because it is a grey, but it's just a lighter grey. But it just allows, like I said, when you do the sanding, for the darker grey underneath to come through. So I'm just going to get on with the painting now. So I've just dispensed a small quantity into the tub, and then we're just going to sponge it on and see how we get on. I think you get a better finish when you sponge it on. Oh, I've got some over, doesn't matter. Like I said, all I'm trying to do is just blend it in with what I've got going on over there. So I'll carry on doing this and just join me at the end once I've done it all. So as you can see, everybody, I've now done this. It's now all evened out. So now it's a matter of having it dried, going through the drying process, and as you can see, it's all blended in really, really nicely. And this is it from the end of the layout, as you all know. So once it all dries, it will dry like what's on the right hand side, which is already dried. So this section will become like the old section, like the old track bed, and then we'll work out the track plan from there. But now it's all about drying, and then once it's all dried, and we can work out where all the tracks are going to go, where all the rest of the roads are going to go, and do all the line painting and the line marking, and basically take it from there really. But this is how I've done it now, and like I said, I won't show you the sort of sanding after it because the chances are I'm going to be putting track on here anyway. But basically, if you want to bring up the grey, you just sand it down, and then you'll have the grey underneath, so that will come through. So until the next time, it's bye from Mildenhall, and my apologies once again that it's been another longer video, but as progress is kind of thick and fast at the moment on the layout, I've just been putting it up in drips and drabs. But like I said, it's just to give you guys an idea of how I do things. And like I said, if you don't want to watch it, obviously feel free not to. But like I said, a few people had asked me in the past about how I do it. So this is just a continuation of what I did yesterday on part 1 on the live stream. So until the next time, it's bye from Mildenhall and Vollmer. So bye for now. Bye.